everybody. My name is EMichele Paul, and welcome to another installment of Open Mic Week in Review in video. Today, we're going to continue our three-part segment of our interview with Rudy Francisco. The interview is simply called Rudy Francisco Uncut. Now, today, we're going to be finishing up part two of the three-part segment. And yesterday, if you missed it, then you missed Rudy Francisco in the beginning. We found out some pretty interesting facts about how he got his start into poetry and the whole poetry slam art. Today, we're going to move into him as a person. Some of the things that we're going to find out is who intimidates Rudy Francisco. That was pretty interesting to hear. We're also going to find out who he was named after. Oh yeah, we're going to find out what does Rudy Francisco consider to be his biggest accomplishment. You're going to find all that and more in part two of Rudy Francisco Uncut. So without any further ado, we're going to move into part two. You've been on stage. How many titles do you have under your belt right now?
Yeah, I have quite a few titles.
So you just go from like city to city and say, "Give me this."
Not really. I'm more just like testing how I'll do in different places, because I feel like if you only go to one venue and you score well at that venue, you really don't have an accurate gauge as to how you will score like when you go to nationals, because it's just people from all over the place. So I try to go to as many venues as possible to kind of like test myself out, just to kind of see like what I consider would be my strongest slam poem, what's like my weakest slam poem, what's in between. Just kind of I have an accurate gauge of what to throw up when I'm in different situations and different places.
Okay, you're the #1 poetry or spoken word poet in the world, correct?
Kind of. Like I'm the #1 ranked slam poet currently.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, who intimidates you?
There are a couple people who intimidate me. Shaka Campbell. It's very intimidating. He's probably he's hands down one of my favorite artists, if not my favorite. Javon Johnson intimidates me. Ant Black, he intimidates me. Like, he always finds a way to beat me. I don't know what it is. Like, he's an incredible artist. I'm not taking anything away from him, but it's always like no matter what I do, Ant finds a way to beat me. Like, he stopped performing for like 3 months. And then he did a slam. We were in the same slam at Big Saturday. He killed me. And I was just like, I don't know what I could do to beat this man. So Ant Black definitely on that list. Simply Cat. Who else? Be Young. He's kind of intimidating. Like, I think me and him head to head would be like an incredible matchup. But he's a phenomenal artist. Joshua Bennett. Who else? The list goes on and on, but those are the ones that come to mind, like, initially.
Michelle Paul. No, I'm kidding. So far, I know we've talked about a lot of things that you've accomplished. What's your biggest accomplishment in Rudy's eyes?
My biggest accomplishment thus far is probably hearing the sound in my mother's voice when I told her that I won the individual World Poetry Slam. Because like she didn't know exactly what that meant when I told her, so I had to like explain it to her. Like, oh, okay, like there's like there are venues all around the nation and some that are outside of the nation as well, who have slams to send one representative. So it's like pretty much the best of the best. And this year I came home with the trophy, and she was like, "Oh wow, like that's so amazing." And like I couldn't see her, but I could tell the expression on her face was just like something that was just full of joy and pride.
Oh.
Yeah, so that is my biggest accomplishment thus far.
Is Rudy your mama's boy?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, she's my favorite person on this planet.
So Rudy, trying to get serious again. Do you consider this your career? I know we was talking about that earlier, and we're going to get into that now.
I'm transitioning into this being my full-time career. Currently, like, I don't have a 9-to-5. Like, all the money that I make, all my bills that I pay by doing poetry. So it's going well so far. Like, I can't complain. But I do see myself doing this like as my full-time career.
So are you a starving artist?
No, I'm not starving. Like, I eat fairly well, at least right now. But yeah, like there are a whole lot of poets that I know that are trying to do this full time and who are starving artists, who are making just enough to get by and living show to show. But it's been a blessing as of late, just because like after winning IWPS, a lot of people hit me up and was like, yo, do you want to come to our university to come and speak? Do you want to come to our venue? And then like a few of my YouTube videos have been getting a whole lot of hits. So people have been contacting me through that. So it's been a blessing. Like I know a whole lot of artists who are barely making enough to get by, and like right now I'm doing fairly well. So I can't complain.
Is there any place that you haven't performed that you're like, oh, please call me, let me perform at your venue?
The New Eurekan.
I know you was gonna say it.
And I was supposed to feature there a year ago, but I had some family issues and I had to come back, so I wasn't able to do it. But the New Eurekan is the place where I feel like I need to perform before I leave this earth.
Nice. If you could go back in a time machine and either redo something or change something or bring somebody back with you to see it, where would you go and what would you do?
I would bring back my grandmother to see this. She passed away when I must have been in like the 4th grade or so. And my grandmother, like she, an incredible woman as well. And I was named after her son who passed away at a very young age. And like my uncle Rudy, he was everybody's favorite person. Like they said that his smile could light up an entire room. And he passed away when I believe he was in his like early 20s. And it was like a really hard thing for the family to go through at the time. So my father promised my mother that he would name one of his sons, after his brother that passed away. Mm-hmm. And I got the name. So like my grandmother always had this really special attachment to me because I had like her son's name who passed away at a very young age, and she always told me that I was a lot like him. And like even like my other aunts from that side of the family were always like, yeah, you remind me a lot of him. So I would like her to see who I am today.
Your creativity a while back about your metaphor. What'd you say about the metaphors? I'm sorry. What did you say about the metaphors? There was a time. What'd you say?
Where I didn't really know how to use them.
Oh yeah. That's right. So, having said that, do you tend to focus more on your technique or your creativity when performing or when creating a poem?
You know what? Lately, I've been focusing a lot more on technique, but I'm trying to go back to creativity because what I noticed about my writing now is that my concepts were a whole lot more creative earlier on. And now, like, I don't have like really great concepts, but like I think my writing kind of carries my poems now. But I want to get back to having like really like creative concepts and matching that with good writing and seeing where that takes me.
Your style, Rudy Style. Mm-hmm. How do you feel? Because no kidding, Rudy. Some days you're nowhere present, and I'm looking at people on stage, and I'm like, he's just like Rudy. He's just like Rudy. What do you feel when people say that?
It's like, how do I describe it? I mean, it's a compliment, but I also know that if you're familiar enough with any art form, if you look at the people who are in the art form, you can tell where they draw their inspirations from. Like if somebody was like extremely familiar with spoken word and like some of the artists that have come in the past like 20 years, you can look at me and say he's kind of like a mixture of like he has a little bit of Shaka, he has a little bit of Javon Johnson, he has a little bit of Ainsley Burroughs, he has a little bit of Simply Cat. Like if you look at me closely, like you can see all of those people in my style, and I feel like the only reason why people can look at someone and say, oh well, that's like a lot of Rudy is because they know me. But if they knew like Javon, Chalk, and all those other people, people would look at me and say, "Oh wow, he's a lot of them."
I see.
So I don't take it as offense. I know some people get kind of bothered by it, like, "Oh, like he's just trying to like steal your style, or they're just trying to steal your style, or whatever." But it's not mine. You know what I mean? Like I got it from somewhere, and those people got it from somewhere, and I feel like that's what art is. Like there's nothing completely original about any art that's out right now. It's all of a mixture of all the things that came before it. I feel like as people, we don't exist independently either. Like we are all a mixture of the people that are in our lives. So yeah, it doesn't really bother me.
So do you ever look at yourself and say, okay, I'm the standard. Let me make sure that I stay on my game, so no one beats me at being me.
I do think about that often. Not that I'm the standard, but like if someone comes up looking at me and kind of like molds their style after mine, like it makes me kind of stay on my game a little bit because I'm like, okay, I can't let this person come and do me better than me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because then that looks bad. It looks like I took it from them.
Wow.
Yeah. You know what I mean? So like it does kind of it does make me step my game up a little bit. But I think in general, even if like if they had no characteristics of me at all and they were just good, like that would make me step my game up as well because like it's my goal to always make sure that I can compete with anybody who comes into my building or anybody. Or I can step into any building and be competitive.
Are you famous?
No.
Okay.
I think some people know me. I wouldn't call myself famous.
Okay.
Yeah.
What poem have you written that made you say, damn?
Probably my honest poem. Like there's a line in there that is like my favorite line of all time. It's my hobbies include editing my life story, hiding behind metaphors, and trying to convince my shadow
that I'm someone we're following. I love that's my favorite part.
Yeah, that's I wrote that line. I was kind
of like, that's my favorite piece.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's the poem where I'm like, yeah, I like that.
So how does it feel when people memorize your poems?
Yo, it feels good because I memorize other people's poems. Like I can do like Queen by B. Young. I can do like some of Talam's poems. I can do like one of Javon Johnson's poems. Like there are quite a few poems. I could probably do a whole feature of other people's poems.
Nice.
Yeah, so it's a compliment when I hear somebody do one of my poems, like a tribute to me, because it's like, wow, that's amazing that you actually felt this was good enough to sit down and listen to for the amount of time it takes to actually memorize it. And so it's definitely a compliment.
Yeah. So okay, so here comes the silly portion of the interview. Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay. Do you watch Glee?
I've never actually. Well, I've seen Glee once actually. One time it was I did a feature at UC Santa Cruz, and afterwards like we watched Glee, and I had never seen it before. It was cool. I enjoyed it. I don't really watch it I haven't seen it since, but it was cool to watch.
So you don't have a favorite episode?
I don't. Unfortunately, not.
So what is the song that you love that we'd never hear you admit to or singing in public?
You know what? Probably, if people are gonna judge me for this, I feel it already. No Hands by Waka Flocka. That song kind of goes hard. Like, I mean, I would never like download it and like play it for myself, but like when I hear it, I'm kind of like, okay, yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. People judge me. I usually don't tell anybody about that.
Well, thank you for being honest. Okay.
Yeah.
So you said basketball earlier. Do you have any other talents other than poetry? Do you rap?
No, not at all. I'd be terrible as a rapper. Other talents besides poetry. That's a good question. Like I don't really play an instrument.
Are you a comedian?
No,
Tell a joke.
Not at all.
Tell a joke.
I'd be a terrible comedian.
Tell a joke.
No, I'm not gonna embarrass myself for all these people. But what are my other talents? Like I actually recently learned how to do like audio and video editing. I also do I used to do graphic design on the side as well. Like I'm pretty good with Photoshop and what have you. Like I do all my own graphics for my albums.
Really?
So yeah, I'm very good at organizing things. Yeah, I guess those are my talents, I suppose.
I was born on July 27th. I hear that makes me a Leo, but I have no idea what that actually means. I'm 5'6". I weigh 145 pounds. I don't know how to swim, and I'm a sucker for a girl with a nice smile and clean sneakers.